Hey guys, making a video here on how to fix your SurfGate actuator. It's a little bit of troubleshooting, and then it's going to save you a whole bunch of money if this is exactly the same problem that you have, that I have. So we were out surfing and we really had a problem building a wave. What I realized is the SurfGate wasn't deploying. So I'm going to walk you through how I fixed it. So you can do it yourself and troubleshoot a little bit. So step one is you come over here to the dash, you go in your settings, and on the right side what you see is there's actually a SurfGate here. Press that button and it'll bring up this menu. What this does is it allows you to deploy the SurfGates to see if they work. So if I hit begin here, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but it's deploying the SurfGates right now. You can see whether they're all the way out, are they stuck, are they hitting something, etc. So step one is just to deploy them and start there. Now, as I hit either begin or end, they're going in and out, okay? And so you're gonna need somebody to run this while you're taking some measurements and looking at some things. So step one is to come to the back of the boat, open up your port side locker, and what you're going to see, sorry if the shaky video, is on this side. These are actually the breakers for the power wedge, for the SurfGate, etc. If you see a little yellow switch flipped down here, it means that the breaker's popped and you can pull it back. So when I got back here and I saw that one of the breakers was popped, I got real excited because I thought that's all it was going to take to fix it. You know, shocker, breakers don't pop for no reason. And when I ended up resetting the breaker, it still didn't work. Okay, so on to step two. What you do is on the starboard side, it's easier if you take your panels out for your bladders here. But I'm going to go right through, let me zoom out to see where we're at. It's right through this side, and as I go down here, you're gonna see this connector right here. Take note of the colors, but it's right behind your pump there. This is actually the connector for, in my case, the starboard side SurfGate. You disconnect this connector, and then you put your multimeter on it to check for voltage on the boat side. So this, I think they're orange and red there, I can't quite see. But you get a good connection there, and then you go back to the front, or you have somebody up front, and you actually have them actuate that for your SurfGate deployment. And then you can see if you're getting 12 volts across those wires. If you don't get 12 volts across the wires, if you don't get 12 volts across those wires, we can come back over here to your breaker side. There's actually a relay bank that lives behind here. And if you don't have 12 volts to the wires, you're more than likely having a problem in that relay bank. I guess you could have a wiring problem in between here and there also, but you'd want to start here to see if you got power to the relay, do you have power coming out of the relay, etc. But it's just these 4 screws you take out of this panel, then you can get to the relay bank. In my case, I did have 12 volts to this connector, so I knew that it was in the actuator itself. What's irritating about that is, at least at the current moment, you can only buy that as a complete assembly. Hop down here. So you can only buy this as a complete assembly on the internet, and it's about $1,500. But I realized that if I had 12 volts to it and it wasn't making noise and it wasn't clicking, it wasn't doing anything, it was probably the motor itself. After a long search on the internet, what I realized that this thing is actually just a outboard or IO trim motor. So this motor itself is easily purchased on the internet. So let me walk back up to the garage and I'll show you the part number. Okay, so as mentioned, this is actually, I ended up purchasing the Mercury part number. So there's your Mercury part number. They do make a couple of these cheaper ones on the internet, Chinese ones you can get from Amazon. I chose to buy the Mercury one. That to filming. This is, I think I got it for 270 bucks. There were some Amazon ones that were even under 200, which is a huge save over the 1500 Malibu ones for the entire assembly. So comes with instructions, but really it's pretty simple that you just ended up replacing this motor with a couple screws. So I'll show you how to do that. I'll also put the Mercury part number in the description below for you guys. So step one, take your SurfGate off, or I'm sorry, you take the swim platform off, and then number two, we're going to remove this bolt right here just to get the SurfGate out of the way to give us some access to both the screws for the motor and the wiring. I should also mention that this is the first time I've ever done this. I just found this part number this week. So for those of you that are doing this for the first time, don't be scared. You're going to watch us do it right here. So let's go. We'll get this off first. Nice save. All right, so now you can see that we have total access to this. And if you look here, there's an Allen screw in this corner, and there's an Allen screw down here in this corner. I zoom, sorry. And then, so you're gonna get these two off. That's gonna allow everything to come off. What you will notice is that there's a certain wiring situation that we have to deal with. So there's one wire that goes into the hydraulic unit from the top. This one is the one that actually controls the linear actuator position, so that will stay here. And then the rest of it is this wire that comes right out of here. This is your power. It just reverses the polarity to go in or out, and you can see that goes through this this bladder or whatever this is on the end here. So we'll figure out the wiring as we go. But so far, we're just going to go ahead and pop the motor off and see what we get. We'll go from there. Okay, so step two, this is the two 5mm screws. You pop that off. Notice that we have the drain under it because I've seen some other people do motor replacement. So we don't have to catch anything that happens. Numero uno.
Is this gonna
Yep.
be off?
No, there's no. I don't know. Here, hold that for a second. We'll see. Ty, you come on this side. Just hold this because it wants to pivot. So you can see me. Told you. There you go. That's all it takes to get that off. Now we'll do the wiring. Okay, so one thing I noticed when we got this off is I went to turn the motor and it was really, really stiff, and then finally it broke through. But what I can hear is that it's making noise. Whereas if I grab this new motor and do the same, totally quiet. So I'm pretty sure the problem was this motor was seized, because I already checked to make sure that it was getting voltage to both wires at the connector. So I was pretty sure that's what it was, but I think it was the motor probably got seized and then burned up the armature. So what we're going to do is, rather than worry about trying to reseal this, what I did is I just pulled the metal wire sheathing out of the way, and I'm going to make a cut about right here in both motors and actually splice it back in and shrink tube it. I'll probably double shrink tube it with the glue type to make sure that it's good and sealed underwater. But I think that's a better fix than trying to disturb all this. And it's easy enough to do. It's all right in front of us. So don't be scared. Just make your cut. So just to show these two motors, you know, like I said, I'm going to cut and splice these two, but these are obviously the exact same motor. So what this is the trim tilt motor off the outboard. Make sure to show the part number here. The only difference is, if I zoom in, this is the actual Parker one, which is the part number that comes direct to Malibu that Parker won't sell you as an assembly. So one question that might come up is there is actually two different motors. There's I think it's a 270 watt motor and a 560. This does use the 560 watt motor. It's the bigger of the two. Like I said, both readily available, and I'll show the part number at the end of the video and put it in the link so you guys can get to it. Okay, one thing to note is that there's this coupler that goes in between the motor and the pump. You can see that the new one is the short one that came with the new motor. It's too short to work. You can't use it. You got to use the original. So one thing here is you can see it's got a slot on both ends. Basically everything's 90 degrees to each other. So you got to remember that if you set the motor straight up, you got to set the pump 90 degrees. So if we look at this motor, I have the motor oriented so it's vertical. And then you got to make sure that you put the small diameter side in. Okay, so I got the wires stripped here. And I got the wires stripped here in the spot that I wanted. Just to make life easier, I'm actually going to put this back on with screws, just so it holds it in place while I do the crimping. The only thing I did is I put a little bit of grease on this thing, just to make sure it slides in a little bit easier, but should be, as you can see, it's not really a big deal. Hold that tight.
With this one?
Camera. The O-ring's a little bit tight to go in. You got to wiggle it until you get it flush. You can use the screws to pull it down. Just be careful when you pull this down. Just do a little bit at a time on both sides to make sure you're seating that O-ring so it doesn't leak on you. Make sure you give it one click. I did actually click that. It's not a torque wrench. Click. Good to go. All right, now you can see our wires are good here. So the next thing we're going to do is crimp these. It'll be good. Oops. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Start it?
Yep.
Okay, so one thing that you should do is when you have these wires like this and you're pulling this metal sheathing back, is just slide a zip tie through it. And go ahead and tighten it up. And the reason you want to do this is because otherwise the wire wants to fall past these and then it's almost impossible to get out. Ask me how I know. Okay, so now that we have this all set, obviously we're ready to go ahead and make our crimp. One thing to remember is get your heat shrink on before. We've all made that mistake before. Get your heat shrink on, and what I like to use is this style of crimper. It allows you to load the terminal connector in there, and then go ahead and make a good connection. So just easily start from one side. Maddie's going to be in the YouTube video. All right, go ahead and stop it. How you going to help? Okay, so let's see if we can get it to focus here. You got two good crimps in these wires, obviously color to color. These, like I said, I like using these style. And now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put the shrink tube on here and make sure it's sealed up real good. This is the type of shrink tube that's got glue in it. So as it shrinks, it'll seal itself. It should be good to go underwater. Okay, now that we got the wiring done, there's one important thing that you have left to do, and that's to go ahead and get this thing filled up with oil and bleed it. Now, unfortunately, the only way to do that is to get it off. So why did I crimp the wires first? Two reasons. One is we have another wire that comes out of here for the trim sensor, so I couldn't take the whole unit off anyways. It's a little bit simpler to do it like this. And number two is I put it all the way back together and it didn't work, so I'm learning as we go for this whole video. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to take this thing off. We're going to take the motor back off, and then I'm going to show you guys how to bleed this and prime it. Okay, so now we got the motor off. What you got to do is you got to hold it in a vertical position. You just get your straight blade driver here. And the first thing you do is you go counterclockwise till you pull it all the way in. There we go. Okay. Now, take this is automatic transmission fluid. You can use this. How do I know that? Because I saw another guy on YouTube do this. I'm just trying to put one video together for you guys. So what you do is you fill this all the way up to the top. Relatively speaking, somewhere in there, good enough for the first try. And now we're going to run it clockwise and purge the system. Okay, so here we go. Until you're all the way out. Okay, and we can back it all the way back off. Get pulled in. And then obviously our hydraulic level's down a little bit from priming the cylinder. Fill this guy back up again. And then now we're going to go clockwise and run it all the way out again. There we go. Starting to purge now, back and forth. Starting to get some load on it now. There we go. See, every time we do this, we get less and less bubbling. I'm sure you could do this on the boat too. Just run it back and forth, but it's obviously a lot easier here. Well, you can definitely feel it getting loaded up at the end there. Okay, now we're in good shape. Now we have our motor here that you got to make sure that you're clocked to make sure that everything goes back together properly. But once you do this, you keep this horizontal while you put the motor in. Make sure you grease the seal, tighten your bolts up, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, after we got it all bled and put back together, you know, which is just a couple screws and get everything oriented, and then it's really just these two bolts. I mean, the key is obviously you got to have somebody there to hold it so you don't have to cut the wires to get this thing off, but it really wasn't that hard, especially with the drill. So I'll show you how to go into calibration mode and how to go into the SurfGate actuation mode so you can see it work. But go ahead and hit the button, Ty. There you go. After the bleeding, works perfect.